Today, we're looking at all the unanswered questions and unfinished parts of the Jujutsu Kaisen story. We'll discuss why the story feels incomplete. The ending of Jujutsu Kaisen left us with big unresolved issues. For example, how was Sukuna defeated during the Heian era? Plus, the culling game hasn't even ended. But there's more to it than that. These mysteries have many layers, and we're going to cover everything in this video. Sit back, relax, and let's go through it all. The first and most important storyline that needed to be covered was the flashback to the Heian era. And no, it's not just for entertainment or to just watch Sukuna wipe out most Jujutsu sorcerers of that time. A Heian era flashback would answer many key questions and wrap up several storylines. The biggest one is why Sukuna decided to split his soul into 20 cursed objects in the first place. In chapter 3, we learn Sukuna wasn't defeated in battle. Then in chapter 238, it's shown that Sukuna wiped out the Sun, Moon and Stars squad, the 5 empty generals of the Fujiwara clan, and even defeated the Abe clan's top forces, which included Angel and the Sugawara clan's Deshi pacification squad. Sukuna fought plenty of battles, so why did he choose to split his soul? One possible reason is that Sukuna was dying naturally and wanted to be reincarnated to fight stronger opponents in the future, like Kashimo did. But if that's true, why not choose the simpler reincarnation method like other sorcerers did? That method is much easier than collecting all 20 fingers to fully come back. Plus, in chapter 228, we find out Sukuna used Kenjaku to split his soul into cursed objects and spread it across 20 fingers. Kenjaku was the one behind reincarnating sorcerers, so there must be a reason why he didn't use the same process for Sukuna. This also leads to another unresolved storyline. We know Kenjaku helped Sukuna split his soul, but what did Sukuna give Kenjaku in return? In chapter 221, Kenjaku stops Sukuna from fighting Gojo, reminding him he has to fulfill his promise first. So, Sukuna made a deal with Kenjaku, but it's never explained. This also raises a big question. What is the connection between Sukuna, Kenjaku, and Tengen? All three were alive in the Heian era, and we know Kenjaku was familiar with both of them. Most likely, Sukuna and Tengen knew each other too. A Heian era flashback could have clarified their relationships. Another storyline the flashback would have covered is Uraum's backstory. Why would Uraum follow and serve someone as evil as Sukuna? Uraum worshipped Sukuna, who represents pure evil. It seems Uraum must have gone through terrible things to choose to serve Sukuna, but the series never explains this. And finally, one last question a Heian era flashback could have answered is, why would Kenjaku reincarnate Angel, who has the power to destroy Sukuna? This might not be a crucial question, since Angel's attacks didn't really affect Sukuna, but it would have been interesting to see how Kenjaku convinced Angel to reincarnate and join the culling game. By now, I hope you see how important the Heian era flashback is to the story. However, the next storyline wasn't necessary at all, especially since it was left incomplete. I'm talking about the involvement of US soldiers in the culling game. Kenjaku went to the White House and revealed the existence of cursed energy and Jujutsu sorcerers to the US government. He even gave them a live demonstration of cursed power using Ganesha. After that, US soldiers entered the culling game and kidnapped several players. They even attacked Megumi and Yuji's group, but that's where the story stops. We never find out what happened to the abducted players or how Japan would respond to being attacked by another country. All we get is one panel in chapter 270 of Maki saying they will probably go and rescue the kidnapped players. Maki also mentions that the public was told cursed spirits are a Tokyo-only phenomenon. I know Kenjaku did this to increase cursed energy and ensure the merge's success, but it didn't add much cursed energy since we know non-sorcerers give off almost no cursed energy. The involvement of the American military in the culling game was insignificant, and this storyline was left unresolved. This leads to the highly anticipated battle that happened entirely off-screen. Hakari versus Uraum, a fight that went on for a while. However, we didn't get to see any of it. This fight was hyped up a lot, and I was really curious to understand how Hakari manages to hit consecutive jackpots. His techniques seem to rely on luck, but Hakari seemed to have some secret to always getting a jackpot. Plus, it was disappointing not to see who would win, as Uraum stopped fighting as soon as Sukuna was defeated. But this wasn't the only unresolved storyline involving Hakari. His dream was to make his fighting club public and gain recognition from the Jujutsu world. This was the main reason he joined Yuji and the others in the first place. However, the series ended without addressing or mentioning this plotline at all. And like Hakari, Megumi's development feels incomplete. Throughout the series, we saw that Megumi had the potential to be as strong as Gojo. There was also the plotline involving Maharaga, a Shikigami that no previous 10 Shadows user had been able to tame and use. We were expecting to see Megumi grow and eventually be the one to control Maharaga. However, the series ended with Megumi nowhere near reaching his full potential. As far as we know, his domain expansion isn't even complete yet. There's also the possibility of Megumi inheriting Sukuna's curse technique. While the chances of this happening are small, it's something that should have at least been addressed. Remember, Yuji was born without an innate curse technique, which Gojo confirmed with his 6 eyes. Kenjaku likely created Yuji with an abnormally strong body and no curse technique on purpose, making him the perfect vessel for Sukuna. Yuji can use Dismantle and Cleave because Sukuna used his body to perform high-level Jujutsu techniques, so there's no reason why Megumi couldn't do the same, especially since Sukuna also used Megumi's body and fought in even tougher battles. Another unresolved mystery is Gojo's last words to Geto. The intense and tragic relationship between Satoru Gojo and his former best friend turned enemy, Suguru Geto, played a key role in Gojo's character development and Kenjaku's master plan. The Hidden Inventory arc shows how their friendship fell apart, and the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 movie ends with Gojo having to kill Geto after Yuta Rokotsu defeats him. Gojo couldn't bring himself to destroy Geto's body, which was later possessed by Kenjaku. But there's still one unanswered question in Gojo and Geto's story, Gojo's final words to his best friend. These words seemed important, but they were never revealed to the audience, leaving fans curious for a long time. Another important plotline that was completely abandoned is Yuki's dream. She wants to exterminate curses entirely, believing that the Jujutsu headquarters is only addressing the symptoms of the problem. Yuki's beliefs led to a deep conversation with Suguru Geto about how to get rid of curses. This conversation influenced Geto to consider killing all non-sorcerers to eliminate cursed spirits. Yuki acknowledged that this was a possible option, but made it clear that she would never do that. Years later, during the Shibuya incident, Yuki continued her discussion with Geto, elaborating on her ideals about the Jujutsu world. She believed that humanity's next stage involves breaking away from cursed energy altogether. Yuki rejected Kenjaku's method of turning humans into resources, which she felt would lead to widespread suffering, stating that it was far from the world she envisioned. Unfortunately, Yuki died before achieving her dream and left all her research to Yuji, which didn't contribute anything to the story. Moreover, the series ended without addressing this plotline. It seems like Yuki's entire life's work didn't mean anything, and no other character attempted to carry on what she started. Most frustratingly, the outcome of the Culling Games merger was left unclear. I usually hesitate to criticize authors because they often have a better understanding of storytelling and a deeper vision than we do, but this feels like lazy writing. The Culling Game and the merger were meant to be the climax of the series. Kenjaku had been preparing for this moment for over 1,000 years. Even Yuji and Sukuna, the main protagonist and antagonist, exist mainly to participate in the Culling Game. Kenjaku spent centuries creating the perfect plan to ensure that the Culling Game would continue, even after his death. However, the series ended without clarifying what actually happened.